Welcome to our City Council meeting. We are back on Zoom, as I announced last meeting, for the foreseeable future. So to start, I'd ask Councilmember Wirtz to please recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Kara. Roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin?
Here.
Councilmember Wirtz?
Here.
Councilmember Gibbons?
Here.
Councilmember Sears?
Councilmember Steers, you're on mute.
Oh, I think his screen froze.
Looks like it.
We'll
Okay.
move along.
There he's
there's
back.
Councilmember Sears?
Here.
Okay, Councilmember Dewey?
Here.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Here.
Councilmember Ward?
Here.
Thank you. And as I mentioned, we are back on Zoom. As such, as City Attorney John Hester would please enter into the minutes regarding the sunshine law and meeting remotely.
I will, Mayor. Section 610.015 of the Missouri
I'm here.
Sunshine Law provides that members of the City Council who are not physically present in the council chambers can vote on all matters when an emergency exists and the nature of the emergency is stated in the minutes. So unfortunately, I'm going to ask that the minutes reflect that we are still in this condition of a pandemic, COVID-19. The Delta variant to COVID-19 is obviously affecting a lot of people, and the City Council has determined that it's in their best interest and the best interest of the general public to meet remotely.
Thank you, John. We'll go right into our business this evening. We have 3 public hearings. The first of which is a request to rezone 250 Commerce Avenue from R4 to RMN, which is missing middle. Mr. Hessel, do you wish to enter any exhibits into the record?
I would, Mayor. Exhibit 1 is the affidavit of publication verifying that notice of the public hearing appeared in the St. Louis County. Exhibit 2 is an affidavit of publication verifying that notice of the public hearing appeared in the Webster Kirkwood Times. Exhibit 3 is the viewer map showing the property that is the subject of the public hearing, as well as surrounding properties. Exhibit 4 is a list of property owners to whom notice of this hearing has been sent. Exhibit 5 is a report of the Planning and Zoning Commission indicating that on July 21, they unanimously recommended approval of the rezoning of 250 Commerce Avenue from R4 to RMM. Exhibit 6 is the subcommittee report of the Planning and Zoning Commission dated July 14, 2021. Exhibit 7 is Code of Ordinances of the City of Kirkwood.
Thank you, John. Before we go into the presentation, I just want to very briefly, for those who may not be too familiar with public hearing, first and foremost, I want to let everyone know there is no vote taken tonight. This is a public hearing before the City Council where the City Council gets to hear about the proposal and hear comments from whether it's neighboring residents or anyone who wishes to speak on the matter. So there is no vote on this taken tonight. So we will go directly now into the presentation. Mr. Hawes, who will present this to the City Council?
City Planner Amy Lowry.
Good evening. I'm going to share my screen because I have some slides that'll give the site context. As you said, this is a request for a zoning map amendment at 250 Commerce Avenue, and there's no proposed development plan attached with this. It's just merely the rezoning request. These are photos of the site. There is a house still on the site, but no one is living in the house. Survey of the property, it's 25,279 square feet or about 0.5 acres. And right now it is zoned R4, which is single family residential. Here's an overhead view of Commerce Avenue and Fillmore Street. It's not the corner house, but it's one in from the corner. Here's a larger view of the area that it is located in. This is the zoning overlay showing the mix of zoning designations in this area. For the most part, it is zoned R4 but we have Kirkwood Materials up here in the upper right-hand corner here, which is zoned industrial. There are about 10 properties that have duplexes on them that are zoned R5 in this area. There's also, I'm sorry, industrial north of this property up against a railroad, to the west of this property. And then to the south, there's some transition areas that go from B1 through B3. This is the future land use map. It doesn't designate this whole area, which is kind of this pinkish color, as transition mixed use. And under the land use plan, that module was intended to provide a balance between downtown and the residential neighborhoods north of Big Bend Boulevard, and then the highway-oriented commercial located south of Big Bend Boulevard. Among the development types that are for this transition mixed use area are single-family residential, attached residential, duplexes, townhomes, apartments, live-work units, lodging, senior citizen facilities, entertainment, regional neighborhood commercial, regional neighborhood office, and parks and public spaces. So that's not to say that all of those should be in this area, but those are development types that are appropriate. Just a little bit bigger of a focus on this area, which is kind of a hashed area from the comprehensive plan. And then just to repeat, that's intended as a balance between downtown and the residential neighborhoods, and then the highway-oriented development to the south. The purpose of the RMM district is to allow for small-scale multifamily residential uses as a transition from the single family to more intense districts, multifamily projects, or commercial districts. This district is supposed to be appropriate along major thoroughfares and at major intersections. So RMM does closely mirror R4 with regard to setbacks and some of the uses, but multifamily dwellings, row houses, and two-family dwellings are allowed in RMM, but not in R4. The development standards for RMM would limit this piece of property to 6 multifamily dwelling units, or if the development is decided to be row houses, it would limit it to 8 attached row houses. But like R4, it would still have the same setbacks, 8 feet for the side, 30 feet for the rear. The height would be limited to 35 feet, but it would be allowed to be 3 stories. In single family residential, 2.5 stories is the limit and 35 feet. And then parking spaces would be required 2 spaces per unit. Tonight we have a public hearing on this. And as the mayor said, the recommendation and vote will not be at this meeting tonight. I'm available for any questions. The applicant is also available.
You got mute. Before we go to council questions, does the applicant wish to add anything to the presentation at this time? There's Mr. Murray coming up now. Second to get on.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry, I'm not the best at this. Good evening. And I don't have anything in particular to add other than to say hello to everybody, and if anybody would have to ask any questions, so I'm available.
Great, thank you. So just hang loose and we'll see if council has any questions for you. All right.
Thank
All
you.
right. Do we have questions from council for either the applicant or for Amy? Raise their hands. And Councilmember Wertz, anything? I'll put on my list. Okay.
No, nothing.
Councilmember Gibbons.
I just find it curious that there's no plans with this and, you know, I'm fairly new, been here a year, but is this typical to get a request for a zoning change with no plans?
I can answer that, Liz, and the answer is yes. Keep in mind that when you change the zoning, it's not dependent upon what the plans are. It's dependent upon whether or not the city council believes it's in the best interest of the city to change the zoning category.
Thank you.
So yeah, the fact that we've had this before, and I don't mean to add on, John, but you know, we've had, you know, someone present, you know, an elevation or a particular desire he or she may have to build along with the rezoning, but that is totally separate than rezoning the property. Because once it's rezoned, whether that plan that that person brings in or not, it doesn't matter. Is that correct, John?
That's correct.
Okay, very good. All right. Anything else, Councilmember Gibbons? Okay, Councilmember Sears, anything? Okay, Councilmember Dewey.
I don't at this time.
All right, Councilmember Zimmer.
No, the only thing, I believe this is the first request for an RMM, and that was discussed during the DPZ presentation that we had in the city of Kirkwood, which is what they recommended in this particular area. As Amy Lowry showed on the map, you know, this could be a positive for the city. So,
Thank you. Councilmember Ward.
Yeah, Amy, you're the only professional at the table right now for planning. Could you tell me, could you give me kind of a thumbnail sketch of the pros and cons to a residential neighborhood when you drop something like this in?
Well, Jonathan's here too, but I will give you some pros and cons. You know, this is a neighborhood in transition, and we've seen there are some property owners that have acquired property, you know, more than one piece of property in the neighborhood. What they plan to do with those eventually, I don't know. But the pros are perhaps this would revitalize the area. Maybe other properties would be rezoned to RMM, and eventually, you know, new housing, hopefully maybe some affordable housing. The cons would be, you know, this is a neighborhood in transition, but there are long-term homeowners in this neighborhood who may not want to see the change that this might precipitate.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Jonathan, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I was just going to say, so I agree with what Amy said, but a few other kind of clarifications. So the missing middle, it really is intended, right? The constraints on it of being that small scale multifamily that Amy mentioned in her presentation are meant to be more scaled towards and compatible with single family neighborhoods, right? It is to provide that transition. And as she pointed out, there are, this is essentially across the street, one small lot in between it and Fillmore Avenue, but essentially across the street from light industrial users. Fillmore is a busy street. It is a commercially used street. And so, again, it is not, the whole purpose of introducing and adopting this district was to provide a intermediate level where we're not opening up to larger complexes. The other thing I'll note is, as Amy mentioned, there are a lot of homeowner occupied units here, but there are also rental units. So the city doesn't dictate whether single family home or multifamily. They can both, as you all know, there are condos, right? So this could very well be developed as condos. We don't know that. We don't control that. So I just want to make sure everyone understands that we shouldn't assume it will be rental, and we shouldn't assume the single family will be owner occupied. And I think part of the point of having a diverse housing stock and encouraging these and allowing property owners to initiate, right? This is not the city initiating this. Amy said this could happen in other places, but only if the property owner wants it to happen, right? They would have to come to us and it would be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. But I think, yeah, I just wanted to clarify a few of those points. Thank you.
I saw a hand. Councilmember Gibbons.
Amy or Jonathan, is there any other zoning classification that allows multifamily, specifically like duplexes, but not six units? Is there any other, or is this the only thing that would?
No, until we added the missing middle, we went directly from R4, which was single family, to R5, which is multifamily, depending on how large the lot is. But that's what the duplexes are in this area are zoned as R5, but so are the large apartment complexes. So we had nothing in between.
Thank you.
One thing I want to say, Jonathan made the point for people who are watching or listening, this is not a city proposal. This is a proposal that was applied for by the property owner. So how this works is when a proposal, an application is made, it goes through the city staff first to digest it, go through it, present to planning and zoning and the city council. So just so everyone is aware, this is not a city proposal. This is the property owner, Mr. Murray, who is proposing this to the city. All right, any further, Councilmember Ward?
Yeah, one other question, Amy. Is there any limit to the number of these that could happen in that area?
We do not have a limit on the number of RMMs that could happen in the area, but each rezoning has to come before you, so.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you, Mr. Murray. Thank you, Amy and Jonathan. We will now go to comments from citizens. So Freddie, if you will handle that and let us know who would like to speak.
Oh, and Mayor, if I may, for comments from citizens,
Yes.
if I may state, if those who are making public comments, if you would please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
The first person is Betty Loving.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, my internet was acting up.
Welcome, Betty.
Thank you. Okay, I'm at 331 Reardon Drive. And everybody knows there's a lot of traffic. We have a lot of children in the neighborhood. And we have trouble getting out already with the big trucks. So it's different if a family comes in and moves in, or a couple of families. But when you do multiple families, then that gives us more traffic, and we already have plenty of traffic. And sometimes it's hard to get out of driveways when you're sitting on Fillmore. And then also, we are considered a floodplain, part of it. So that would also make a difference in the development of the floodplain, wouldn't it? Additional water.
Is that someone comment on that? Obviously, that's a different, not a different issue. Amy or Jonathan, you want to comment on that?
Sure, I can. I may not be able to answer it fully, but yeah. So part of this property is noted to be in the special flood hazard area or the floodplain. There's the creek, the channelized creek right behind it that runs through it. It would be, like all development, would be subject to, actually at the multifamily level, would be subject to MSD review. So it would be a higher level of review than our usual for a single family house. So that, along with all the flood development plain permit regulations that come with being, if any structure were to be proposed within the floodplain, certainly there's a whole other level of federal regulation that our building, we have a certified floodplain manager in our building department. He would review and ensure compliance with those. So if it were a multifamily, it would have those added layers of review for MSD and floodplain regulation as necessary.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Sure.
And have you considered, Jonathan, other locations that don't have already commercial around their subdivisions?
Betty, let me answer. This is a proposal from the specific property owner. It's not a proposal of the city. So it's not the city saying that it wants to do this. This is a specific, all we can address is this specific property, because that specific property owner is the one who has made the application. So our total focus can only be on 250 Commerce Avenue.
I understand.
Yeah.
I'm still saying that same question for 250 Commerce. If you can relay that message.
Okay, no, thank you. I just want to make it clear that, we're,
No,
all we
understand.
have under our purview is this specific address. So, all right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And Lisa.
Yes, thank you. I am currently a resident my name is Lisa Meisner, and I'm a current resident at 251 Commerce, which is directly across the street from the property we're talking about. I had sent some information over to Laurie earlier in the week to give you guys some additional information. I know I sent over a picture. I'm assuming everybody has that picture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is a typical morning at this particular corner. And as you can see, the property across the street doesn't have any sidewalks. I'm not quite sure what 6 additional families would do on that particular lot without any sidewalks. Me and my friend, we both walk our dogs in the morning, and it is a very scary corner to walk down the street with all this traffic. And you see where this truck is parked, that happens 4 or 5 times every single morning. And as you can see from this picture, I have no trash service. There's many a times my trash has been missed because these trucks are parked here. I have no ambulatory care. I have no fire services. I cannot get police to come here. I've called the city of Kirkwood several times about this, and the solution to the problem is just to contact the police. I've even had to take my car and drive across the parking lot so that I can make it to work on time. And this is very typical for these to back up all along Commerce. And also the customers are always backed up along Fillmore all the way up to Big Bend because they're waiting in line to load up. So once again, I'm not sure where 12 additional cars are going to go here. And then I also sent over some information, just some census information as far as the municipalities around us, what their percentages are related to single unit homes versus the other types of homes. And as you can see from the documents that I sent over, Kirkwood has the least percentage of single unit homes. So my question would be, why are we trying to decrease that number? And as I'm sure, I'm an accountant, so I'm assuming it's common knowledge that when you have single family residences and you bring in an apartment building, that's going to devalue the property value of those residents around it. So that would also be a concern.
All right. Anything else, Lisa?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
There are no more hands raised.
All right. Do we have any other final comments from council for the applicant or staff? All right. Seeing none, this public hearing is now closed, and this item will be on our new business agenda at our meeting on September 2nd. Thank you very much. We'll go to our second public hearing, which is public hearing establishing the property tax rate for the city of Kirkwood. Mr. Hessel, do you wish to enter any exhibits into the record?
I would, Mayor. I would offer as Exhibit 1 an affidavit of publication verifying that notice of the public hearing appeared in the St. Louis County. And I would also note that that notice did contain information concerning the assessed valuation, the previous year's valuation, and the current year's valuation. Exhibit 2, is the affidavit of publication verifying the same notice appeared in the legal ledger. And Exhibit 3 is the Code of Ordinances of the city. Oh, excuse me. Exhibit 3 is the affidavit of publication verifying the notice also appeared in the Webster Kirkwood Times. And Exhibit 4 is the Code of Ordinances of the city of Kirkwood.
Thank you, John. Mr. Hawes, who will present this to the city council?
That will be Director of Finance, Sandy Stevens.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council, Mr. Hawes and the residents of Kirkwood. The property taxes, this is something we do annually, and this is an odd year. So it was a reassessment year. And so as a result, you'll see a larger increase in the assessed values. Residential assessments increased 9.6%, and the residential assessed value is 19% of the property's appraised value. The commercial assessments increased 6.9%, and the commercial assessed value is 32% of the appraised value of the property. And the process is the same every year in calculating the property taxes. The taxing authorities are only allowed to capture revenue at the same level as the previous year, plus an increase for the CPI or Consumer Price Index as determined by the state auditor's office. This year, that CPI rate is 1.4%. And all of the property tax rates that are proposed here tonight have been reviewed by the state auditor's office and returned back to us. So the city of Kirkwood, we levy taxes for our police and fire, pension, our park system, and general government services, which also include the operations of our public safety. The residential proposed rate is 46.2 per 100 of assessed value. And historically, the city of Kirkwood's property tax levy averages about 7% of our residents' tax bill, total tax bill. The commercial proposed rate is 52.4 per 100 assessed value, and the personal property rate proposed rate is 63.9 per 100 of assessed value. One moment, okay, I'm sorry about that. In the special business district, the commercial owners in there have an assessment that helps with the activities of the special business district, and their assessments this year increased 7%, and the proposed rate is 36.1% per 100 of assessed value. And on behalf of Donna Poe at the SBD, I want to add that the commercial property owners in the special business district support marketing and public area improvement initiatives within the downtown Kirkwood Special Business District through their additional property taxes. Examples of programs supported with these funds include the Facade Improvement Program, the Summer Concert Series at Station Plaza, special events such as the Halloween Walk and Holiday Walk, administration of the Kirkwood Farmers Market, and advertising that promotes shopping and dining in downtown Kirkwood. At work since 1975, the combination of these initiatives and programs has made downtown Kirkwood one of the region's most desirable locations to locate a business. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much, Sandy. Do we have any questions from council for Sandy? Councilmember Works.
Yeah, Sandy, so you said 7% of our property tax. So let's say I pay $1,000 a year. That's what, $70 then is going to all of those city services?
That's correct.
That's it. Okay. It's just kind of amazing to me, especially when you think about how much it covers. And I guess, do you know, is that, I guess 7% is average in the area compared to other communities? Do you know that?
No, I haven't researched that.
Okay. All right. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Other council comments or questions? All right, the only other one I see is Councilmember Sears. No, I saw you. I saw you.
Yes, thank you. Just for clarification, when you talk about numbers like 62 per 100 or 27 per 100 or whatever those numbers you called out, you're talking about pennies per $100, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, I just didn't want, I mean, that could be interpreted a lot of ways by the people who are listening. So I wanted to be sure that's how I understood it. And I wanted to verify that we're talking about. So if you said 30 per 100, that means for every $100 of assessed valuation, that's 30 cents.
Correct.
And I also want to just reiterate what you said at the beginning, Sandy, and that is that we do this every assessment year where people get freaked out when they get their reassessment notice and their property value, the assessment has gone up 20% or 30%. They assume that their taxes are going to go up that same amount. And they've come to me kind of upset by that, when in reality, we have to, but we do roll back the tax rate, or however you want to describe it, so that it only goes up that 1.2% or whatever, regardless of what your reassessment was. It will only go up by a certain percentage based on the CPI.
That's correct.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from council? Councilmember Ward.
Yeah, I did want to just make a comment. Thank you, Sandy, for your usual professional and precise information that you give us. That data is important. And I understand we always follow the letter of the law and the spirit of the law, but I believe and have believed for a long time that the property tax scheme that we utilize is arbitrary and frequently lacks fairness. And I would hope that at some point we will be part of the energy to revise this system to one that's more fair and equitable across the board.
Could I ask you one thing, Councilmember Ward, to reiterate? It's not City of Kirkwood's, system.
No,
yeah, just make that clear that
that was my point about the following the letter of the law, and
right.
we do what we are obligated to do by the state, right. and I'll never question that. But the system we labor under as taxpayers is just a poor one, and I don't think we should just continue year after year to just say, oh my God, every time we do a reassessment, it's horrible, but we're not going to do anything about it.
Right. I just want to make it clear to people watching that you are referring to the state, the requirements we need to follow from the state on it.
That's right. Yeah,
okay.
I'll take ownership 100% of that.
All right. All right. Anything else from council? All right. Seeing none, do we have anyone wishing to speak on this, Freddie?
There are no hands raised.
All right. Very good. Well, with that, this public hearing is closed, and this item will also be on our new business agenda at our meeting on September 2nd. For our third final public hearing, which is establishing the property tax rates for the Kirkwood Municipal Library. Mr. Hessel, do you wish to enter any exhibits into the record?
I would, Mayor. Again, Exhibit 1 is an affidavit of publication verifying that notice of public hearing appeared in St. Louis County. And again, that notice can contain the assessed valuation, the previous year's valuation, as well as the current year's valuation. Exhibit 2 is the affidavit of publication from the legal ledger. And Exhibit 3 is the affidavit of publication from the Webster Kirkwood Times. And Exhibit 4 is the Code of Ordinances of the City of Kirkwood.
Thank you, John. Mr. Hawes, I assume Sandy will present this as well?
That is correct, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Welcome again, Sandy.
Thank you, Mayor. The same procedures are followed for the library. This again is a reassessment year. And the state auditor's office reviews these rates to make sure that the proposed rates are within compliance with the laws. And it again is limited to the revenue growth of 1.4% CPI determined by the state auditor's office. Now the assessed value for the Kirkwood Library has different boundaries, so it's different than what you see for the amounts in the city of Kirkwood. So sometimes people get confused and think, well, if it's our library, why aren't their assessed values the same? The residential assessments for the library increased the same amount, 9.5%. The commercial increased 7%. The proposed residential rates for the library is 22.9 cents per hundred of assessed value. The commercial proposed rate is 27.2 cents per hundred of assessed value. And the personal property proposed rate is 35.5 cents per hundred of assessed value. The Kirkwood Library's property tax levy is it historically averages 4% of a resident's total tax bill. And the property tax levy funds are used in the operations of the Kirkwood Library and their programs. Any questions?
Thank you. Do we have any council questions regarding the library tax? All right. Seeing none. Oh, Councilmember Warren.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the investment that the taxpayers liaison to the Kirkwood Public Library. I'll tell you, the taxpayers' investment is well spent there. And the quality and level of services that they have there, I think, are second to none for this region in public library. So
Thank you. Thank you for that. We'll go to comments from the public. Freddie, do we have anyone wishing to speak?
There are no hands raised, but the director of the Kirkwood Public Library is on if you all have any questions for her.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you.
Oh, there is a hand raised now.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's intentional, but.
I've been looking at that hand is.
Okay, I'm understanding the increase with the library, and I'm rolling back a bit with the commerce situation because my internet crashed. So from what I understand, I did not see the maps. Can I come to the city of Kirkwood and get those maps and get the plans that I missed earlier in the beginning of this meeting?
Sure.
Okay.
And as far as the taxes go, we want to make sure so that our taxes are not going up anymore, right? Is that what I'm saying? That's what we didn't understand.
Did I hear 17 to 32%?
No, we can send you that information. That is not the case. All what we're doing tonight is hearing what the proposed taxes will be, and as Councilmember Sears said, the maximum we can go up is 1.2% of the assessed valuation. 1.4%.
1.4.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm understanding that. I guess I'm getting into this a little late on what has all been inspired. So it's best for me to come to City Hall and get the prints, the plans, because I did hear something pertaining to there was no plan for it. So the purpose of rezoning the area is a question that I had, and that's my computer.
Oh, Betty, I'm sorry, Betty, I'm sorry. We are, that public hearing is closed. We're talking about the tax rates, but yes, feel free to come to City Hall to discuss, the issue with the city clerk or the planning director on that rezoning. Yeah, any citizen is welcome to do that.
Okay, and this is not Betty. This is Betty.
Naomi Nelson. I live in 9 South Fillmore, so I've been there for over 60-something years. So I just need to get on board with what's going on.
Okay.
So thank you for the information.
You're right. Yeah, Betty's name is coming up on my screen. That's why I thought it was Betty. I'm
I
sorry.
totally understand. She lives right around the corner. So my
Okay.
thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you. All right, seeing no other questions or comments, this public hearing is closed, and it will also be on our new business agenda for September 2nd. Now we will go on to the public comments portion of the meeting.
The public comments portion of the meeting is an opportunity for the city council to listen to comments from citizens. It is not a question and answer session, and the city council will not respond to comments or answer questions during this period. The mayor may refer any matter brought up to the city council, to the chief administrative officer, or city clerk if action is needed. If there's anybody wishing to make a public comment, if you will please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Ready, we have anyone wishing to speak?
There are no hands raised.
All right, then we will move on to our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion passes. Move on to unfinished business, Bill 10887.
Sorry, I'm a little slow to my mute button there. Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance readopting a procedure to disclose potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain officials as set forth in Chapter 2, Article 1, Section 2-5 of the Kirkwood Code of Ordinances.
Do we have any questions or comments from council? All right, seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor, I think I see Councilmember Sears' hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Sears, I'm sorry.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to remind everybody that this is because we do this every year. We are required to adopt this every year. It's not because of anything that has happened or anybody who is, it's not because of anybody's investment or whatever. It's just something we adopt.
Correct.
Yeah, and I could actually clarify it's
commission. Yes, sorry.
That's I was just going to clarify that it's only required by law to be adopted every 2 years, but the city of Kirkwood feels it's important to adopt it on a yearly basis.
You, anything else? All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin?
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz?
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons?
Yes.
Councilmember Sears?
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Ward?
Yes.
Bill passes. Bill 10888.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance amending the Kirkwood Code of Ordinances, Chapter 23, Article 3, Division 2, Section 23-90, heat pump, water pump rebate policy by deleting it in its entirety.
Are there any questions or comments from council? All right, seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin?
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz?
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons?
Yes.
Councilmember Sears?
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Ward?
Yes.
Bill passes. Bill 10889.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance appropriating $153,000 from the Park Improvement Fund balance to the Capital Expenditure Building and Site Improvement Account, project number PR 2110, for the Emmenager Park Bank Stabilization Project.
Any questions or comments from council? Councilmember Zimmer.
Just to point out to the public that's watching, we're stabilizing Emmenager Park against the river using some free gravel with the construction project going on. So This is saving the city a lot of money.
Thank you, Mark. All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin,
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons,
Yes.
Councilmember Sears,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey,
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward.
Yes.
Bill passes. We'll move on to new business, Bill 10890.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance amending the provisions of the Municipal Code, Chapter 25, Zoning and Subdivision, regarding the amendment of the definition of catering establishment by adding reference to mobile food trucks, push carts, and farmers markets, and adding this as an available accessory use for educational institutions and places of worship located in residential districts that would be permitted with standards.
Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, obviously this was the subject, one of the subjects of a public hearing at our last meeting. Do we have any questions or comments on this bill? I see Councilmember Gibbons.
I'm not sure how to do this, so maybe someone can help me, but I would like to see the hours of commercial delivery changed from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And that would be commercial delivery only.
What section is that before I ask for a motion?
Okay, it's under section 3 and it's D5.
So is there a second to that motion?
Second.
We have a second from Councilmember Dewey. John, do you understand? Did you get the proposed amendment where it would need to be changed?
Yeah, you would have to change, as Liz pointed out, section 3, subsection D5, where it now reads delivery and the loading/unloading of vehicles shall be limited to the hours of 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. And I think she wants to add, and commercial deliveries and the loading/unloading of commercial vehicles shall be limited to the hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Is that right, Liz?
Correct, yes.
Right. All right. So we have a motion and a second to that. Are there any questions or comments on that motion? So then, Councilmember Dewey.
I also have concerns about this, and I actually have concerns about, as it reads, deliveries and loading and unloading of vehicles shall be limited to the hours of 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. In here is stated that these are residential areas. I'm not aware of all of the churches in town, but the ones that I am are all residential. And 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. in a residential area for trucks to be coming in and out and loading and banging around and all sorts of things, I think is way too early and way too late.
Okay. All right. Councilmember Zimmer.
Yeah, I have a question with the comment, the proposal by Councilmember Gibbons to add wording to this for commercial vehicles. There's the mention here, deliveries and the loading and unloading of vehicles. I'm assuming that this is going to be different than commercial vehicles. Seems a little wordy. How do we discern between the two here?
I guess if it needs further clarification, Mark, and it might,
I
you could
think
say
so.
deliveries and loading/unloading of non-commercial vehicles shall be limited to, and then add commercial vehicles shall be 7 to 7. So if you're proposing that we add the word non-commercial before vehicles in the first portion, I don't think Councilmember Gibbons would object to that, but I'll let her speak for herself.
No, I don't have a problem with that. I actually spoke with a food truck vendor, and there are times when they need to come back later than 7 o'clock, but they don't need commercial deliveries any later than 7. So that's kind of where I've got my information.
Jonathan, you popped up, so I bet you have something to say.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So I guess I just, for clarification, the with the comment that Councilmember Gibbons just made, we need to be clear on, I mean, the caterer coming back in their catering vehicle is still a commercial vehicle. So that's what that's where the 7 to 11 conversation started, was because there were catering companies that would be catering a dinner and would have to come back after the dinner and unload their trays or their things, and that, you know, that's still commercial activity. So honestly, the only non-commercial vehicles, and maybe that's a question I should ask, I don't know, since there are no customers coming, there wouldn't really be non-commercial vehicles associated with this use. And this is about the accessory use of the catering. It's not about the church, right? So we're not talking about church clergy or staff or anything like that. So I guess that's just where I don't think, in my opinion, it is, I think it will be very difficult to differentiate between the noise that a caterer is making when they're unloading their own truck at 8 p.m. versus somebody delivering bread for them at 8 p.m., I guess is my question or comment.
Yeah.
Councilmember Sears, and you got your hand up?
Yes, I think it's really important that we think about the practicalities of this. We're talking, if you're talking about like one of the commercial, what do you call them? The people who supply restaurants, like a restaurant supply company, bringing in crates of apples and oranges and who knows what else. Yes, I get it. We could limit those, but if we're talking about what the food truck does, the practical nature of that business, I think, is that you are going to come back late and put your things back away in your facility at the church, and you're going to leave really early if you serve breakfast or something like that with your food truck, which some of them do. So that's a real practical concern I have with this limitation. I have no problem limiting what we would call commercial delivery to a restaurant, say. But I do have a problem with this proposal as it stands because the food truck needs it. Otherwise, the allowing them to use the space doesn't mean much to them.
And I assume, Liz, that what Bob is saying is, I'm assuming that was kind of the intent, and tell me if I'm wrong, but that's what you're looking for, the big trucks, as Bob said.
Correct,
making restaurant
yes.
deliveries, not necessarily the users of.
Right,
of the
yes.
kitchen. Okay.
You know, the big trucks that would have the beep beep backup, those are the ones that I really think need to be limited on time. Not the.
If I
food
may, I
trucks.
mean, this is first reading, so if I may suggest, if we can work, I think I understand the differentiation being requested, that we could work toward, and I guess, correct me, what I'm hearing is, I think keeping 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. other than council members Dewey's comment, but on this current amendment, keeping commercial loading and unloading as an umbrella, right, from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., but then further limiting, and we could, something along the line of external commercial deliveries from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Is that, Councilmember Gibbons, is that kind of what we're going for?
Yes.
Okay. And I think if we can, we could try to work that language up for a substitute bill for the second reading, if that's okay.
And I think maybe with that, thank you, Jonathan. I think that's a good solution. If maybe the Councilmember Gibbons can withdraw her motion. I think Councilmember Dewey, the second, to withdraw that, taking into account what Jonathan will do for second reading, that would be best. Will you withdraw your motion and your second?
I am happy to withdraw.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Do we have any other questions or comments on first reading of this bill, knowing that we'll have a substitute bill that we'll be able to discuss at second reading. All right, seeing none, all in favor of first reading?
You missed Wallace. You missed Wallace.
Well, you got your hands in the corner, so it's hard to see.
Yeah, that was actually
Councilmember Ward.
that was my foot. I just took my shoes and socks
Oh,
off.
God.
Yeah, I have a question for Councilmember Dewey, and this pertains to the idea of consistency across the board, and when we apply a philosophy to an ordinance, and that is regarding the 7 a.m. start time. A couple of months ago, she made a motion, and we introduced a change in the noise ordinance in residential areas because of her concern for some. At that point, I had suggested that we take a look at the seasonality of start times for construction. And at that time, she was unwilling to look at that. And I'm just wondering if she's got an increased sensitivity to start times for the hundreds of homeowners that are insulted year after year after year. And if so, is she willing to reconsider her position on the seasonality of construction start times?
Duly noted.
Very good. All right, make sure there's no other hands in corners I can't see. All right, seeing none, all in favor of first reading of Bill 10890, please say aye.
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 All opposed say no. All right, bill passes first reading. Resolution 85, 2021.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution amending the contract with EFK Moen by increasing the contract amount by $35,000 for a not to exceed amount of $174,988 for additional construction engineering services for the Geyer Road Phase 1 resurfacing project, and authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into an amended contract.
Is there a motion for approval?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Russ, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
In the legislation request in the bill, the contractor has passed their completion date on this.
Correct.
Why does that necessarily mean we need to increase the contract for the engineer?
The delay in completion that pushed them past their completion date has caused more work for EFK Moen in order to produce the necessary documents to close the project out. EFK Moen is a construction engineering oversight firm. So by necessity, we have to close the project out. And by necessity, we have to pay the increased cost to EFK Moen. However, there are contractual obligations within the current project by E. Meyer that they will be bound by, that will subsidize some of this cost.
Okay. All right. So there is contractual. I know we can't really talk about that, but there is.
That is correct. There are contractual obligations that protect the city.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you for that. We have any Councilmember Ward?
Yeah, a little clarification. You used the term "some" of the obligation.
It will not. What we anticipate will not fully cover the additional cost. That is correct.
No, I'd like for us to have some further conversations about that. I don't understand how the taxpayers of Kirkwood are going to pick up a check for a lack of competence by a contractor.
All right. Any other questions or comments from council on this? All right. Seeing none, we'll move forward with roll call.
Mayor Griffin,
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons,
Yes.
Councilmember Sears,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey,
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward.
Yes.
Resolution passes. We have no consent agenda items. Any city council reports? All right, seeing none at this time. Chief Administrative Officer report.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I'd like to start out with the fact that we have invoked the emergency debris removal process or policy that the city created back around 2015. That allows us to, in the case of extensive damage that creates debris from any number of causes, ice storms, snowstorms, or whatever, or thunderstorms in this case, where the debris is impactful citywide, we may invoke the emergency removal policy, and that is where we contract with some companies to pick up debris that's left at the curb, and we encourage impacted people, impacted citizens of the city who had debris from the storm to place it at the curb, not blocking the sidewalk. I see Bob Sears' hand is
That's right.
up.
Russ, you go ahead.
Okay.
I'll call on him. But you go ahead. I want you to finish first.
All right, absolutely. So yeah, we would just ask that people place that at the sidewalk. I mean, not to block the sidewalk, but behind the curb and not in the street. And the contractor vehicles will come around and chip it or pick it up.
And there is a cost to this, correct? Just so I want people to understand.
Correct. That is there's an absolute cost to the city each time we invoke this policy.
All right. Councilmember Sears, I wanted.
I wanted him to finish too. I was just trying to do a pre.
You want to get there first, okay?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Mayor, could you go in order of turn? I think you start with Councilmember Wertz.
Yeah. I go with the hand I see, not the ones that over here. I like this one right here. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, you can't miss this piece of ham. You know. So I'm glad that Russ just went through that because there has been confusion in the community, which is understandable. But I want to reiterate that because I've had people ask me this based on bad information that's out there. And that is that while there's a cost to the city, the resident does not need to put a sticker on anything and does not need to use the city's yard waste bag. So it's no cost to the resident with the problem. The taxpayers in the community have seen fit to help out individuals who may have had this event strike them. The other thing I wanted to ask Russ is, did I hear you refer to a dust storm problem?
I don't think I said
in case there's a dust storm.
Okay. Ice storm, snowstorm.
Ice storm was after what I heard is but anyway.
All right.
I thought I heard dust storm, and that was kind of funny to me.
That would be interesting if we had one of those here.
All right. I saw another hand.
We'll pick up the debris, but not the dust.
That's right. Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes, Russ, you did mention that every time this policy is invoked, there is a cost to the city. Can you explain, since we've had a lot of interest in this policy, where the money comes from and any idea of an average cost per event?
Yes, we do have an average cost per event of about $60,000. And the prior event came from the forestry department budget. So it limits some of the things that may have been planned in the year in the forestry department.
Sure.
This current event, we don't expect to take from forestry. We'll probably take out of administrative contingency because we really wouldn't expect two in 1 year to invoke this policy. These two in this year are very unusual, within a month of each other and so forth. But, it's certainly something that we may want to look at on a contingency basis through budgeting. And I intend to actually work into the proposed budget some contingency funding for this type of invocation of policy.
And I appreciate that. And I think a lot of residents appreciate it too, because there was some confusion. People had different experiences with this storm versus the last storm. And it's good for folks to know that, there is a cost to this. every time it is invoked. And so they understand, that we still are responsible for it, but it's there in emergencies for us to use. So thank you, Russ.
I see another, Councilmember Ward.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of clarify something also for taxpayers. This council has, for coming on 2 years now, been very direct in asking the staff to minimize our expenses on a day in and day out basis. And that philosophy applied in this instance. And I think the council will have to take some ownership in that we didn't do a real good job of anticipating some of the things that might occur out there, that we would want to grant the staff more flexibility in making those decisions. I think we got to the good one this time. We did the first time, and we're learning. I think this was a good learning experience for us, and I think the residents will see us get more efficient at these kinds of events. I think there are clearly some ways we can reduce our costs for storm pickup, and so I want to thank the staff for the effort that they made and for the turnaround.
Thank you. Councilmember Gibbons.
I just wanted to know I think we all got lots of emails about all kinds of different things related to this storm. Is there going to be some kind of method by which residents can express issues that happened with them? How should that be dealt with?
Well, I think a lot already have, but they're more than welcome to, send any of us emails, call us, send it directly to the staff to do that. I think we've all talked to many people, I assume. And I think the best way is to get us that information. I don't think a public forum or anything like that would be the method to do that. I think just any information that residents can give us, which we can pass on, or directly to administration through the city clerk, is at this point probably the best way, so that individual concerns are heard. And then obviously, as individual concerns are heard, are there patterns? Are there coincidences? Are there just things that are broader than just one particular resident or property owner?
Well, we have an online system for that, don't we? That they could just log on and report their individual experience. It will get sent to the person most responsible for that, and they should get a response after that. And we can that might be a better way to do it, because we can track trends.
That's exactly correct. And we do have that system. It's called Kirk Connect, and it's a citizen response module. And we track it and respond immediately.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note too that none of our neighboring municipalities are doing the level of service that we're providing.
Absolutely. That's exactly right.
Yeah, I think we set the standard and how we handle this in our metro area.
All right. Russ, I know you get some more items.
Yeah, I do. I have a couple of items for council to act upon. First is the city has received an application for a liquor license to sell intoxicating liquor by the drink plus Sunday from Pie Pizzeria, 10,312 Manchester Road. This application would require city council approval by voice vote.
Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Do you have any questions or comments on the motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say no. Motion passes.
All right, and the next one is the city has received a temporary outdoor promotional variance application from the Alpine Shop, 440 North Kirkwood Road, to hold their semi-annual swap sale from Friday, October 22nd to Sunday, October 24th.
Is there a motion for approval?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments on the motion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion passes. Thank you, Russ. Is that it for your report?
Yes, that's all, Mayor.
Okay. City Attorney report.
I have nothing to report, Mayor.
All right, City Clerk report.
Yes, Your Honor. The first thing I have to report is the report from the August 18th, 2021 meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. The following action was taken. By a vote of 8-1, the commission recommended approval of the request for final site plan review for a mixed-use development in the B2 district at 426 North Kirkwood Road and a temporary bank facility at 128 West Washington Avenue. Legislation will be drafted for that item. And the second item I have is to report on the scheduled upcoming public hearings. We have for next Thursday, August 26, 2021, a special city council meeting at 6 p.m. via Zoom to hold a public hearing regarding a request for a special use permit for a nursing home and site plan review at 600 North Dallas Road, Harmony Homes. And that's all I have to report, Your Honor.
Great. Thank you, Laurie. So we've got the public hearing next Thursday, 6 p.m. via Zoom. Our next meeting is 7 p.m. September 2nd on September 2nd, which also will be via Zoom. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.
Night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Good evening.
Good